Yo, yo, yo. Let's turn this off. Let's move over here. All right. You know who this is. It's Big Earl in the house. Just gonna go over a recap of last night on AEW's Dynamite. Overall, pretty good card. I give it about a B plus overall. Um, of course, there was a great debut everyone talking about. The Nature Boy, Ric Flair. But we'll get to that in a second. Let's see if I can share this. Just get some love here. I'll be right back. Forget about it. All right, we'll just do it. We'll do it live. Wearing my Bowling for Soup t-shirt. So last night AEW started off with a very good match. Basically, hold on. This is unbelievable. There's fucking construction going on. Unbelievable. It's 8:06 p.m. and I've got construction going on. I just logged on. Yes, please do. Please do, Rebel. I know. It's like unbelievable. And people wonder why I want to get out of this building. I mean, But let's get to AEW done. Basically, AEW is in full gear. Pardon my pun. Well, I mean, right, I bought my condo for $371 in 2001, late 2001. it's been appraised at 1-1. So I've done pretty good for myself. But the problem is in Los Angeles, um, 1-1 doesn't get you anything. Like it literally gets you a shack. And I don't mean Shaquille O'Neal. What up, Ross? Got my three biggest fans in the house. Um, so we'll see what happens. I mean, I'm working with a realtor right now, and he literally told me, 1 will get me a house in Compton. Like, that's crazy. So I've been looking in the valley. I live in West Hollywood, over the hill. You definitely get a lot more bang for your buck. And I mean, is this unbelievable or what? Um, this condo is driving me insane. I mean, it's why a lot of people move to Austin. I mean, Red Band's home in Austin, if it were in my neighborhood, would be a $3 million home. So I know. So, um, but I don't want to live in Austin. So it's you either put up with the real estate prices or you move somewhere else. But what are you going to do? So AEW Dynamite started off in a very good way with the match between MJF and Juice Robinson, Jungle Juice Robinson, who is really no, but there's the comedy mothership. Um, I mean, is this fucking unbelievable or what? I mean, they're supposed to be done the construction at I think 6 o'clock. I mean, I'm about to go over there and go, Ultimate Warrior on their ass. Um, but a very good match with Juice Robinson and MJF. Clearly everything's building towards the Full Gear pay-per-view in Los Angeles. I know exactly, dude. I will be going to a Full Gear. Um, this was for the big ring, and I mean, Juice Robinson is a fantastic heel. The Dynamite Diamond Ring, um, it's officially called, and a good match. I mean, I thought, obviously you knew that MJF was going to win. And I don't like those matches when you know really the outcome. You can't have MJF lose before um, taking on Jay White next month. Just wouldn't make sense. But I thought it would have been a nice swerve if Juice Robinson won. Um, a lot of run-ins. The Guns came in. Um, I thought the match was good enough where you didn't need all the run-ins. Well, you never know. I mean, I've done the Vulcan gas company thing once. It was fine. I mean, I would hold on, my neighbor's getting back to me. They're done next door. Um, Probably because I just complained. Um, you know, um, I would visit Austin, but I would not become a full-time resident there. Um, so I didn't like the end of the match, though. You had the Guns come in, and then the Acclaimed came in. It was just kind of a lot. And then as MJF was running up, or not running up, but walking up the stairs, Kenny Omega comes out. Now that's a very intriguing match. I believe I was on the Kenny Omega and MJF train months ago, but I don't like how they're doing it. They are having a world title match this Saturday night on Collision, um, and I can't see Kenny Omega winning. Like, you can't have your champion MJF lose, a month before the big pay per view. I mean, your whole, um, the main event is MJF against Jay White. So I don't know how you would work Kenny Omega into that. So I don't know. It'll be interesting to see what goes on Saturday. Um, I mean, maybe they make it a three-way match, although I don't know because they don't really have anything for Omega at Full Gear, and you got to figure Full Gear is going to be really where they load up, and I mean, Wardlow will be on the card. I'm assuming Omega, the Bucks, maybe some New Japan guys. I mean, Okada made a very rare appearance on US TV. I believe it was his first match on Dynamite. We'll get to that in a second. So, good. I mean, they really jammed in a lot in that first half hour of Dynamite. It seems like they're throwing a lot of shit against the wall. So, I hope that, we can, see this all come and all good storylines. I mean, Samoa Joe got in there as well, in a backstage segment with MJF. So I'm not quite sure what they're doing with MJF. I mean, it seems like they're setting up some sort of a gauntlet he has to go through because he's got multiple challenges from Wardlow, Omega, Jay White. Um, I'm pretty sure they'll get Christian in there on the mix at some point. So, good first half hour. I liked it. I mean, like I said, though, I did think they threw in a little too much, but, it was fine. Next match was Hook and Rob Van Dam against the Dark Order. Um, and, I mean, I get, ECW was pretty big in Philadelphia, and, RVD. Listen, for his age, he can still go. And I think you obviously have Hook do a lot of the heavy lifting. Dark Orders, they're kind of like the jobber, ever since Brody Lee, deceased, died. Um, I don't think that they've been anything more than enhancement talent for tag teams and trios matches. But they're funny. I mean, I do like John Silver. He plays the heel pretty well. But you got to figure RVD and Hook were going to win, and they did. So yeah, it was okay. I mean, it's a bit of a drop off with all the star power of the first segment, but I do like Hook. I mean, that's someone who I think if he went to WWE, they'd make a star because they do seem to do well with younger talent than AEW. Have Brian Landon. I'm sorry, Brian Landon's a hockey player. Have you ever thought about working for a local promotion? I mean, I've done some behind the scenes stuff for XPW, which is a deathmatch wrestling um, company. Um, most local promotions don't pay well, if they pay at all. So I'm at the point where I'm not working for free anymore. It's like you want my humor, my talent, whatever you want to call it, you got to pay me. I mean, I'm 55. I don't have the time to work for free. I mean, I've got the time. I just don't have the energy. Lord knows I have the time. And then the next segment was probably my favorite of the night, just for nostalgia um, reasons. Was Tony Schiavone came out with Sting. Sting gave a pretty short speech and lead in with Darby Allen, and then you know you get the feeling this is Sting's last match. Revolution, which I think is in March. Not sure on that. And then Tony Schiavone says it's time for your surprise from Tony Khan. And I had a feeling we were going to hear Ric Flair's theme song. And Ric Flair came out. And it's crazy that Ric Flair and Sting wrestled 35 years ago. And Ric Flair made Sting 35 years ago. And, I was a little sad because, Rick looks, I mean, he is 74. I'm not saying I expect him to look like he did at Starrcade 87, but, it is, I don't know. And I really noticed how skinny his legs were. Um, but very good segment. You could tell they were both like, holy shit, we've been doing this for 35 years. And then something that I wouldn't have thought they would have done, but I thought they would have just let Sting and Flair have their moment. But I did like how Christian, Luchasaurus, and Nick Wayne came out. And as soon as Christian's music hit, I'm like, this is going to be good. And very good heel moment, although Christian had two botches in the promo, which is too bad because they were good lines, but he flubbed them. And this match is building towards a three-way at Full Gear. I think Christian, Luchasaurus, and Nick Wayne against Sting, Darby Allen, and a mystery partner. Now I figure it'll either be Flair, and I don't want to see a 74-year-old Flair. I really don't. I saw him wrestle set at 73. It's tough, man, to watch. It just is, and it's no insult to the man. I mean, he's the GOAT, greatest of all time, in my opinion. But I don't want to see a 74-year-old Flair teaming with a 64-year-old Sting, and so there are a couple, I think, other possibilities. They had a backstage segment with Sting and Adam Copeland. I don't want AEW to blow their wad yet with Edge and Christian. I think they should hold off on that. Almost do it like Hogan and Sting, where it was like 9 months before from first promo to the match. Because I think you hold off on that till London. And it would be tough because the temptations, hey, we paid for this guy to come in, but I don't want to see them in the ring just yet. But I thought to myself earlier today, what if the mystery partner, they played up, the night of the match comes, Christian, Luchasaurus, and Nick Wayne walk out, Sting and Darby walk out, and then Dolph Ziggler walks out. That's how you do it. Now, I don't know what Dolph, what his non-compete clause is. I don't know if he has one, but we'll see when we get to how much drilling and Sting. Yes, Sting is a quality guy. From all the people I know who know him, he like literally has. I've never heard a bad word about him. Yeah, I mean, with Rick William, it's just like he's 74, man. I get it. What would it take for you to be a commentator or other talent? I mean, on a per show basis, I mean, it depends on the show. Like if it was XPW and they said, "Do you want to be a manager for someone?" A couple $100. You know, if it was a bigger organization, PWG or you know, GCW, you know, I mean, it would cost a few bucks. You know, I'd be a great heel manager. Um, so now, Comedy Store pays well. I got to be honest with you. I have a main room spot tonight, and how that works is you split the door with the comics in the main room. So if it's a sold out show, 400 people, you figure 100 people got in for free or whatever. You know, you're splitting, you know, a couple $1,000s between 5 or 6 comics. Yeah, I mean, it just I was shocked at how skinny his legs looked because I saw him backstage at his you know, his last match when we were all back there, and you know, he came out at one point either in his underwear or in his trunks, and I was like, oh, he's got some big quads for a 73-year-old. But yeah, I mean, Brian, I'm at the point now where you know, you want me, you got to pay me. So you know, I don't know. I thought it was a good segment overall. Kind of an up and down flow to this Dynamite. You know, the first segment was A plus. Second segment, you know, about a C. This segment, B plus, A minus, because you had a lot of heavy hitters and a surprise. And then you had Jericho do a promo on Powerhouse Hobbs, and you know I would guess they're building towards a Jericho Powerhouse Hobbs at Full Gear. It's a good match, you know, because I've never seen it before. Um, I give it about a B. You know, Jericho can still talk, and then the next segment was the Ring of Honor 6-man tag match: the Young Bucks and Hangman Page versus the Hardys and Brother Zay. Um, I don't know. Something's off about the Hardys in AEW the last couple months. Uh, I don't know. I'm just not into it. Now, I'm assuming at some point we're going to build towards the Hardys, Edge and Christian, and I've heard maybe the Dudleys come in. Be a good. I would say that would be a good nostalgia match, but and I do like Brother Zay, but it's just not. I don't know. He's you know, he just hasn't been on TV enough for me to care. Uh, I mean, I would guess he probably only works out upper body. Um, I mean, he's still pretty jacked. I mean, for a 73-year-old, he's still pretty jacked. So, I mean, for a 74-year-old or 73, whatever it is. Oh, thank you, Ross. I mean, I know the numbers don't do very well in that football thing, but you know, I get along with Tony Mazer and obviously Ken Mosca. Ken Mosca is the first person to ever sign up for my Patreon, and still is a subscriber. So, um, you know, and you know, I'm a football fan. So the Bucks and Page win, and then they, you know, they kind of go to this bizarre segment where Swerve Strickland kind of reminded me of the Pillman Stone Cold angle. I guess Swerve Strickland breaks into with Prince Nana into Hangman Page's house, and he's like vandalizing this kid's drawings on the refrigerator. And, I don't know. I mean, it was a little weird, like to be honest with you. You know, it's just like kind of bizarre. I mean, I get what they're trying to do. Swerve's trying to draw Hangman out. And, you know, I'm sure at Full Gear it'll be Hangman and Swerve. I mean, I do like how they're at least trying with storylines to make you care who wins or loses. So that was a kind of a, you know, I give it a, I don't know, C plus, B, you know, and then a segment backstage with Adam Copeland, uh, where Sting and Darby Allen come in, and Sting's trying to pump him up. because Copeland's saying is, "I won't fight my friend Christian." It's kind of like Rocky 2, where Apollo was trying to draw Rocky back into fighting him. Um, so they kind of led you to believe that Adam Copeland would be the mystery partner at Full Gear, but I think that's too obvious. But I don't want to see the first time Christian and Adam Copeland in the ring. It's a three-way match. But I'm also, I bet Sting had a couple great lines, for older fans saying, you and Chris are like me and Lex Luger back in the day. And I remember, that was a big feud for Sting. Do you remember Lethal Lottery and whatnot? Was pretty big storyline with Sting and Lex Luger. I mean, prime Sting and prime Lex Luger. It's like pretty impressive and very much fit the time frame of I think Lethal Lottery was 1990 or 91. Um, so, oh, okay, that's a tough game, Bengals and the Bills. I mean, it's in Buffalo, so I do think with the weather and whatnot, Buffalo will prevail. Um, but Bengals have a good team, so we'll see on that. And then the women's title, Ruby Soho versus Hikaru Shida, and I don't know. I mean, Ruby Soho, like she was really hot when she first came on the scene. Like, oh, they're really pushing her, and now she's kind of a jobber. Good match. Wasn't great. Um, you know, there's something about Sheeta. Like, I don't know. I just can't get into her. I think maybe because her body's kind of average, and I don't mean, oh, it's in Cincinnati. Okay, my bad. I thought it was in Buffalo. Um, but I don't know. I mean, she's the champ, but it's either with women's wrestling, and she's obviously a very good wrestler, but she just kind of looks average body wise. And I don't think I've ever heard her do a promo. So, I don't really care if she wins or loses because I don't really care about her as a character. But, we'll see what happens. Kind of an average match. Tony Storm came out for the stare down. I mean, I do like what they're doing with Tony Storm and RJ City. I mean, RJ City is so funny to me. And if you want to see me and RJ City on a podcast together, he did an episode with me and Fast Eddie Torres on the Comedy Store Wrestling podcast, the now defunct Comedy Store Wrestling podcast. And we had a great back and forth, mainly about how the WWE mishandled Sting, but it was really fun. And follow RJ City; he's a good guy. Um, so yeah, I mean the women's match, it's kind of I give it, on a scale 1 to 10, like a 6.5. Um, and then quick segment with MJF and Samoa Joe. It's another guy, So I'm curious. Like I thought, they're definitely building to something. Probably not at Full Gear because it's Jay White and MJF, but maybe at the next pay per view, which would be in January or February, I'm assuming. Um, maybe a four-way title match. MJF, Jay White, Kenny Omega, and Samoa Joe. I mean, that'd be pretty cool. Um, now I don't know what MJF's contract status is, but you got to figure that the outcome of that match would depend on his negotiations. And Wardlow's in the mix too. They really seem to be not rebranding him, but like a darker Wardlow. I mean, because I think I mentioned this on the last stream. Wardlow to me totally reminds me of really an exact replica of Mike Awesome. Like and I don't mean the Mike Awesome in WCW when he was the fat chick thriller killer, or the '70s guy. I mean, if you look at Mike Awesome and Tanaka in ECW, woo, That is a guy who could do anything at that size. Is very impressive. So maybe it's a five-way match. I don't know. But they've bungled Wardlow a few times, to be honest with you. So I think that they now seem to be on the right track. His hair is a little longer. They're doing these Goldberg type squash matches, so it will be interesting to see where this goes. But it's good to see him back because he's a talent. And even though the WWE passed on him before, I could see them swooping on him if he gets released by WWE. Jim Cornette's gimmick was portraying a tennis racket wielding mama's boy. I mean, I think I would go if I were to be a manager. Let's say they said Earl. Well, he already has a manager, Sanjay Dutt. Let's say they said to me, Earl, we're gonna put you with Satnam Singh. I would kind of go for a rich man. It'd be a combination: Jim Cornette, Gary Hart. Um, my buddy Jordan said my angle should be my name is Earl Everyman because every man wants to be me. So I don't know if that's true, but um, I because I know how to get heat, uh, and I do think AEW. I mean, obviously, I'd be like Don Callis. Um, they are short on great managers. I mean, they have some good ones. Don Callis is great. Prince Nana, I think, has gotten a lot better. Um, Sanjay is pretty funny, but a good manager can do wonders for someone. You take someone who's not good on the mic like Satnam Singh because his voice and his accent and just everything about him is so lambda, lambda, lambda. I'm assuming you're a Revenge of the Nerds fan, but thank you for joining. By the way, let's get the plugs in while they're in my head. Earl Skakel on all social media from Patreon, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, Facebook. Thank you. Oh yeah, no problem, dude. I'm gonna try and do it probably every Thursday after AEW. Because I think by the time Dynamite ends, it's East Coast. It's pretty late. So I think Thursday night um, is a good time to do it. And then we'll see. Hopefully it catches on. I see there's a lot of popular wrestling uh, podcasts out there. So, well, Dynamite's on Wednesday. Yeah, Thursday after Dynamite. So, I think you give people 24 hours to watch it or read about it, and then hopefully come here and you guys can share this and retweet it or whatever. Oh, sorry about that, William. I just great movie, Manhunter, with the great, I believe, who played Hannibal Lecter in that? Was it Tom Noonan? Um, who is calling me? This is out of control. Who is this? Is hi, I'm on a YouTube live stream. Who is this? Yeah, I can't talk right now, Bernadette. I'm in the middle of a live stream. Okay, I'll talk to you later. I gotta go. I'm in the middle of something, Bernadette. Just call me later. Jesus Christ, man. Um, right. Sorry about that. Right, yeah, sure, right. You're right. I'm a big Tom Noonan guy. I was just watching FX. Um, FX is that movie with Brian Brown and Brian Dennehy and Tom Noonan. He didn't have a big part in FX, but he was always, he's always good in whatever he's in. Of course, he was in Heat as the guy De Niro buys the bank plans from. Um, there's somebody wanting their child support. No, I'm good. I don't have any kids out there. But it's like I literally just told my friend Bernadette, "Hey, I'm in the middle of a live stream," and she's like, keeps talking. Like, people's social skills, man, in this world are fucking nuts. It's like the Comedy Store lawyer who just passed away a couple weeks ago. Shout out to David Pierce. He's actually a really nice guy, but he had no social skills. In Montreal, after I had beaten Jimmy Carr in roast battle, um, Judd Apatow was talking to me in the green room. And like, here I am, 14, 15 years into comedy. I've never really talked to people like Judd Apatow before. I think it was more or less just saying, "Who are you? I've never heard of you before. I'd like to work with you or whatever." And like the Comedy Store lawyer, David, rest in peace, bro. I love you, but like he's literally standing in between me and Apatow, and I'm giving him every fucking signal in the world, like, dude, beat it. Like, come back in 10 minutes. Yes, that was the real Montreal screw job. But what can I do about it? I think people are sick of me talking about it, but you know, I mean, Roast Battle was an illegally run television show. Literally, if you've ever seen the movie Quiz Show, ever since that happened and that scandal, not that I want to talk about Roast Battle, but like for people who don't get why I'm so fucking pissed still, uh, when it's an all cash prize, there's supposed to be no conflicts of interest. I mean, that's the law. It's literally the law. So, when you have Jeff Ross as an executive producer and the head judge, what? You have his manager managing contestants and judges? Like, what? I mean, the first guy I beat, Jesse Joyce, literally was a Comedy Central employee. That's literally, he never should have been in the battle. And he's great. But, it's like when my ex fiance Chandler was, she still might be the head writer and one of the producers on Holy Moly, the golf show. I said, "Hey, why don't you get me on it?" And right away she was like, "I can't." Um, because, if you won, and you probably would because putting was always my thing in golf. Any other contestant can say, "Well, his fiance is one of the writers on the show. It was rigged." So, I mean, Jesus Christ. I mean, 2 out of the 4 people I beat on TV were champions. Jimmy Carr and K. Trevor Wilson, I think, is the current Canadian champion. Um, and I never see the show again. But yet 3 people I beat got all 3 seasons. Like, how does that make sense? Oh, yeah, and Jesse's awesome. Like, he's a great, great comic and a much better writer than me. But, you know, I was on set one time with Chandler where they got all the contestants, uh, before they started filming, said, "Does anyone here know anyone from the show? Do you have anyone working on the show? Do you have anyone who works for ABC?" Like, it was a very, like, there will be no conflicts of interest on this show. So, you know, it's just welcome to the Jeff Ross world, I guess. But, I'll probably see him tonight at the Comedy Store. Uh, I mean, it's like I was the only one who had tough battles in every battle. Everyone else got a warm-up battle. Some got more than that. And if you look at the bracket for my season, got the season 1 champion, Jimmy Carr, and I also got Tom Ballard, who, we did an untelevised season of Roast Battle. And if you're being honest, Tom beat Jimmy, but they gave it to Jimmy just because Jimmy's Jimmy. So in my bracket, 2 out of the 3 people I could face were the champions. No one else had that. It's like, why have me on the fucking show? Um, but that's just the way comedy works. And most people when they get fucked over, they need the money, so they don't want to rock the boat. I don't need the money. I'm not rich, but I don't need the money. So I can be honest and I can be like, no, you fucked me over. I'm going to talk about it 7 years later. I'm like in the movie Munich, where basically showed the Israeli, the Mossad took 20 years to get all the Palestinian terrorists who were responsible for the 72 Olympic killing of the athletes. Took them 20 years. They got everybody. That's me. In 15 years, if someone brings roast battle up, I'll still feel the same way. Fuck it. Yeah, I don't think Jeff Ross would ever battle me. He don't have the balls. And he would just get my ex-girlfriend to write his jokes. And trust me, I'm very comfortable going up against her writing. Everybody knows Skakel is the king of roast. I mean, I wouldn't say I'm the king, but like, um, I think I think my final roast record was 9-3-1. But most of those, it's not just who I beat, but it's where I beat them. I beat Comedy Central comics being judged by Comedy Central comics on Comedy Central. So, yeah, you're right, John, but still, I don't like getting fucked over. Well, I think I mean, there were some good roast battlers in New York for sure. But, like their big champion, Eli's a great guy, but, you know, like I don't really respect how he battled, because all he did was battle his friends, being judged by his friends in his home club. So, you know, and his only battle where he wasn't in control of the venue, the judges, or his opponent, it was so bad that Comedy Central pulled it off air. Like, put that into perspective. Comedy Central said, "This is so bad, we can't air this." Think about that. And he's a great guy, but like, you know, they found him a battle, but not me. Okay. But yes, in the commercials. So, there's a lot of shit I'm not getting into. Like what was done to me on season two it's just fucking wrong, man. But well, no, I mean the battle. Eli was battling my friend Pat Barker, who has a very serious personal issue in his family that most stay away from just because Pat is such a great guy. But Eli went all in, and he had no backup plan, and it's just the jokes weren't good, and that kind of left Pat hanging because roast battle it's really only good if both people are good at it. Like if you look at I don't know any of my battles on TV uh, were good because I made them good. But when one person's strategy, Eli's strategy against Pat was just to hammer that one topic, and it just wasn't working. And he had no backup plan. And on TV, when you're doing a roast battle on TV, and it's you get four jokes. So if the first two bomb, it's really impossible to get the momentum back because the battle's halfway over. Like I don't know how New York did it, but like in LA, we had 3 round battles sometimes. So you're doing about 12 jokes. If it goes into overtime, 15 jokes, something like that. So if you have one or two bad jokes, you can recover. But that was well, I mean, Perry's just not talented. I gotta be honest with you. Like, the people um who are like, I've known Perry for 25 years. I mean, when I met him at open mics, and even back then it was like you have to do lambda lambda. You do have to see FX. There's an FX too, but sorry, I'm a little. When I get into roast battle, I get a little aggressive. FX 1986, great cast. Brian Dennehy. Who else is in it? Mason Adams, Cliff DeYoung, one of my favorite '80s actors. Um, but Perry's shtick was old back then. When I was doing open mics, and he'd go up and it was funny for like a couple minutes, and then he had no steam, and it was like, oh my god, this guy's horrible. Well, Cliff DeYoung is like that go-to '80s guy. Yes, I can't wait. I mean, I didn't like FX too because I didn't think the cast was as good. If you go back to FX, you had Diana Venora, you had Clifton Young, you had Mason Adams, you had Trey Wilson, Dennehy, Joe Graffiasi, who's like was a go-to character actor in the '80s, um, and it just wasn't good. Oh, dude, I was in the room, John, the first night it started. So that's another reason I get all worked up about it. Is I was in the room. It was me, Moses, and Josh Martin and Kenny Lyon, and maybe a few others. And then so you know, and then it literally each so Roast Battle started. It was a bad open mic run by this other comic. And in her defense, it wasn't bad because of her. It was just Tuesday nights was a real dark night at the Comedy Store back then. And I mean, that was the night the talent coordinator took it off because it was so bad. He didn't want to be up there. And so Moses took it over. And then one night, Josh Martin and Kenny Lyon wanted to fight. And Moses, I forget his exact words, but um, he was like, "Hey, you guys can't fight. It'll shut the show down, but you guys can slap each other, which is what they call roasting in the hood." And it was pretty funny. And then the next week, no one wanted to do stand up; they wanted to roast. And then literally week by week by week, it was like that shampoo commercial. You tell two people, and they tell two people, and then before you know it, it's the room standing room only. And one week there was no one to battle, so they asked me if I wanted to battle Boone Shakalaka, who if you are familiar with the Comedy Store, Boone was an iconic figure. Many believe he's passed away because he hasn't been seen for a couple years. And you got to understand, I never went longer than 2 days without seeing Boone, so I do believe he's passed. But I mean, it really was a magical time back then. Um, and then that's my favorite era of the show is actually before Jeff got on there because it was like the Wild West. It was like an outlaw, bunch of unknown comics up there. We were all friends. It was really like no one was trying to get on TV with it. I mean, I never would have dreamed in a million years that show would have got on TV and got 3 seasons in the US, 2 in the UK, hosted by the guy I beat. um, but then Jeff came on board, and he made it bigger, and it was kind of cool at times to see John Mayer and Dave Chappelle up there, but bigger ain't better. So, um, and then Jeff and his manager really turned roast battle into everything it wasn't. Celebrities roasting each other. I mean, the Sklar brothers had no business being on the show because they're not roast comics. They clearly prepared their script, and it wasn't a good battle. I mean, Jeff and Blake Griffin was a fraud, and so on and so forth. I mean, name me one battle from season 3. You can't. So, but people, friends of Jeff, you're just bitter. Like, no, I'm just honest. So, you know, yeah, Brian Denny's great. Like he just passed away, and yeah, I mean Clifton Young was. I don't know if he's been in anything lately, but you know he he was probably from like 80 to 90 was in at least a couple films a year. It's weird though. There's a lot of actors like that. My friend Jenny Wright, who was one of my favorite guests of Inappropriate Earl. She was like from 80 to like 90 and like, I don't want to say a ton of films, but a lot of films and TV shows. And then she just quit the business. Smith, who was with Jenny Wright in the, what was it, the Chocolate War with the great John Glover. He was, was it Weird Science and then a bunch of other movies and TV shows and literally quit the business. And I think now he teaches like history or something in Austin, Texas. So weird, strange. I mean, yeah. I mean, when I had Jenny on my podcast, it was kind of sad. Here's a girl who I think she had won a lot of Best New Actress awards in the early '80s, and like so talented and beautiful. She's like that weird combination of beautiful and cute. and but then she just I don't want to say lost her mind, but just the business ate her up, and just now she lives on like a goat farm in upstate New York. Just nothing to do with the business. It makes me sad when I see that. Michael Pare is another guy. Like I thought Michael Pare in Streets of Fire would be a star. Like he had that Tom Cruise meets Clint Eastwood vibe, and Streets of Fire was such a bomb. It probably hurt his career forever. And then I think he was in what else was he in? Well, Eddie and the Cruisers. That was a pretty big movie. And then a couple bombs, and then that's it. Like I don't know if he's probably done some films I've never heard of before. Straight to video and shit like that. But I remember one time I used to work at a gym in Santa Monica. And it must have been by a studio because a lot of actors came in there late night, and he came in one night and he's like, "Hey, can I work out?" I'm like, "Yeah, Mr. Cody." He's like, "No, my name's Michael Pare." I'm like, "No, you're Tom Cody from Streets of Fire." He kind of gave me a look like, "Come on, dude, I just won't work out." David Caruso came in one night too. Same thing. "Hey, can I work out?" I'm like, "Yeah, yeah, man, you can come in, Johnny, but just remember, you're a punk from the patch," which is what Dennis Farina called him in Crime Story. And he's like, he kind of got it, but not really. Well, another guy, Ellis from Die Hard, Hart Bachner. You know, he was a very in demand, good-looking character actor. And then just the '80s left, and he got into producing, I think. But like, what are you gonna do? Yeah, I mean, if you look at Jenny Wright, I mean, The Wildlife. She was in a great episode of Crime Story with Kevin Spacey of all people, but just basically lost her mind pretty much. Which is really sad. Makes me sad because like, god damn, she's talented, but um, I mean, it's a shitty business. You know, it's yeah. I mean, lambda, lambda, lambda. Can't believe I'm calling some of that in the chat room. Um, she was like the oddest combination of beautiful and cute. Like in the Wildlife, which it was like a loose sequel of Fast Times. Not really, but kind of. And by the way, if you like the movie Predator, I like the movie, and you're kind of curious as to what Kevin Peter Hall looks like out of the Predator makeup. He plays the strip club bouncer in The Wildlife with Chris Penn, Comedy Store paid regular Angel Salazar, and the bad guy from Valley Girl, Michael Bowen. Uh, but it's weird though, Rebel. Like so many of those actors, like Hart Bachner, Jenny Wright, Michael Pare, they're like had a real hot streak in the '80s. Like 3 to 4, 5 years of like constantly working TV shows, movies, and then Days with Jordan the Lion in the house. Well, yes, Michael Bowen was also. I mean, the last thing I've seen Michael Bowen in was I I want to say season 2 of Animal Kingdom, where he looks real rough because he's a good-looking guy, but time was not good to Michael Bowen, but he was really good in um, Animal Kingdom. So, and that's a weird show. Like you look at Animal Kingdom, all those guys, I haven't seen any of them in anything since. Um, well, no, Pope, Sean Hatosi, I think that's how you say his last name. Might be Hattasy. Um, he was in Law and Order, but like the guy with the long hair who played Craig, I haven't seen him in anything. Um, so Michael Bolton, you mean Michael Bowen, bro? Come on, Andrew, get it together. All right, let's finish up this um, AEW Dynamite recap. So the last match was the great Brian Danielson and Claudio Castagnoli against Orange Cassidy and the great maybe the greatest wrestler going in New Japan right now, Okada, a Dynamite debut for him, wrestling anyways. I think he might have been came in at the end of one Dynamite, but he didn't wrestle. And very good match. Kind of a storyline building between Okada and Danielson, just because of their match at Wrestle Kingdom. Um, and they Okada and Orange Cassidy lost. And I thought that was weird. I mean, Okada's a big deal in Japan, so I wouldn't think you'd have him lose on his first time in Dynamite. But wait, who's Dave Barbie? I don't know who that is. Rest in peace to Burt Young and Richard Roundtree. Rough week for '70s actors. Shout out to both of them for being. I think Richard Roundtree was 81. I'm not sure how old Burt Young was, but those guys lived through the '80s. So the fact that they got to the '80s in their life is impressive, to say the least, if not less. But kind of a weird ending, though. Like Danielson was, I'm assuming, faking an injury, and then Okada was kind of like taunting him, and then like Best Friends came out, and the rest of Blackpool Combat Club came out, and there was just like a Hook came out, and it was just like it seemed like a lot of unnecessary people in the ring. Um, so I'm not sure if that's building to like a battle royal type matchup between all those people, or if it's a continuation for Okada and Danielson to have a rematch at Full Gear, which is coming up in November. So, I mean, all in all, I'd give Dynamite. There's a lot of big names, a lot of good storylines, a couple stinkers. I give it a B, solid B, not B minus, not B plus. Um, well, I'm 55, so the people that I grew up watching as a kid were probably my age, maybe in their 40s. So now they're, it's like Ric Flair is 74, Sting is 64. So just the sad part of life. By the way, go on Days with Jordan the Lion and check out his YouTube vlog. It's the best travel vlog in the business. And he is my mentor with the YouTube live streams. Yeah, I mean, AEW is doing right by Sting's hairline. I mean, there's nothing you can do. Like he's bald, I think, in the crown area. So, like, once he starts wrestling and sweating, it's gonna show. But Suzanne Summers too. Like they die in threes. Um, so Dynamite was good. I mean, I am curious to see what happens between Omega and MJF at Collision. I mean, you got to figure Omega's going to win, but I can't see a scenario where Omega. Oh, I'm sorry, you got to figure MJF is going to win. I can't see a scenario where Omega wins because then your main event for Full Gear is kind of ruined with Jay White and MJF. So unless there's a run in or something, I don't know. I mean, it's going to be interesting to see what they do. But I do feel like AEW, you can tell they are getting better at building storylines, so you care who wins. Like Jay White and MJF, it's been a nice build. Um, Christian and Edge, been a pretty nice build so far. Although I don't want to see them blow it just yet. Um, and then, I think Hook they're using a little more. Wardlow, you can tell they have something in store for him. Samoa Joe's getting more storylines or more TV time, so that's good. That's Elton John, Billy Bob Thornton, and Jeremy Piven can magically regrow it. Yeah, well, I mean, I think Sting keeps it real. Oh, wait, you hit like on what? Dave Barbie. I don't remember liking that tweet, Ambrose, to be honest with you, but um, I've been on a real Danny Spivey kick lately. Uh, I really didn't know how much of a badass he really was. There's a great, by the way, I wish I knew the guy's name. There is a great jobber match with the Skyscrapers, Danny Spivey and Sid, where they're battling these two jobbers. And the one jobber, I guess it was his hometown, and he didn't sell any moves, and like he knocked Sid down. So halfway through the match, Danny Spivey and Sid just start legit beating the shit out of him. It's pretty funny to watch because you could tell the other guy, the other jobber, like Sid and Danny Spivey liked him, so they kind of just threw him out of the ring, and I'm sure they said, "Stay away, like don't do anything." It's kind of like in the Mass Transit uh, match with New Jack and I think Mustafa, and they were wrestling that big fat kid. I forget his name, and Bullet, no, Bubba, no, Devon Dudley. And you could tell like they liked Devon. So I think at one point, New Jack or Mustafa, maybe both, threw Devon out of the ring, and you could see him say something like, "Don't get back in the ring. We're gonna beat the shit out of this fat kid." Because apparently the fat kid walked up to New Jack before the match in the locker room. Was like, "Hey, I want to do this. I want to do that." And, I have friends of mine who are pro wrestlers, and the cardinal rule: if you're coming into a locker for the first time and you have a match with a veteran, you don't tell the veteran what you want to do. You go up to the veteran and say, "What would you like to do?" Or you don't go up to them at all, and they just do what they want to do with you. It's just paying your dues. So, but yeah, if you can look up Sid Spivey beat Jobber up. It's pretty funny to watch. And apparently they beat the shit out of him in the locker room too. How hard did I get when Ric Flair's music hit? Very hard. Like I saw it coming, to be honest with you, but um, it was still, I marked out, and I know you did too, dude. Um, So, I mean, yeah, I just hope they don't. I hope Flair's not the third partner. I don't want to see that. I mean, like I said an hour ago, he was 73 last year when me and Jordan saw him in Nashville, and it was a tough match to watch. And he had Andrade, Jarrett, and Jay Lethal kind of carrying the pace. So I just maybe he does a JJ Dillon type role where he's the manager and he brings in someone. But I don't know. I just think that it's just I don't want to see a 64 and 74-year-old tagging with each other. I mean, I knew Darby could probably take all the bumps and do most of the work, but I mean, there comes a point in time, man, when you just got to call it a day if you're a pro wrestler. Um, so that is the conclusion of my AEW Dynamite review. And we talked a little roast battle. Chad is best buddies with Ric Flair. I mean, I don't know about that. I've never heard that before, but anything's possible. I don't really get involved in the Dabbleverse. No interest in doing that. I'm a Dabbleverse voyeur. I just don't. I'm just not interested in. The feuds are old. It's like there's only so many times you can talk about Chad's, whatever arrest record, and there's, Stuttering John is just like it's just not interesting to me. Nothing personal. Like when Joey sees and I think I did a podcast with Joey with Mir and Dr. Chow. Uh, he seems like a nice guy, but he just seems like a fan who's wanted to get in on the action. And I think I said this the last time. When you look at the Dabbleverse, you've got Kevin Brennan's a 30-year comic, one of my favorite comics. Uh, you've got Bob Levy, 30-year comic. Shuli's been in the game 20 years, 30, I mean, maybe 20, 25 years. Melton, same thing, 20, 25 years. So Carl's been podcasting for a long time, Steel Toe, long time. So you just can't jump in and not even have any entertainment experience and expect to hang. So, what's interesting to you? Adam McGay's movies. I don't know who that is, to be honest with you. Yes, I was. A lot of people. I'll end with this because I got to get ready for my Comedy Store set. By the way, I'll be wearing my new Bowling Pursuit shirt. Um, One night, we were all at the Key Club. I'm too lazy to take it off, Jordan. I just did yoga. I'm not moving. We were at the Key Club, which used to be Gazzari's back in the day, seeing the Vince Neil band because my friend Brent Fitz was the drummer for Vince Neil. He's now the drummer for Slash. So we go see Vince Neil play, and then the backstage, a very, very small back room at the Key Club. We're hanging out, talking. Everyone wants to go to the Rainbow to eat. They have the best pizza in LA. And so I'm walking out with Bruce Kulick because he was friends with my girlfriend at the time. And I see Frankie Wilsex from LA band the Sea Hags, but more importantly to me, um, he was in Stephen Piercy's post-Rat band Arcade. Now, the first Arcade album was very good. Second one, not so much, but they had some good songs on it as well. And they had a really pretty ballad on the first one called Cry No More. I heard the news, they told me on a Sunday. Open my eyes, the skies, they turn to gray. I count the years, they go so slowly by me. Will I ever see you again? Ooh, so lonely. So I see Frankie, and I said, Bruce, I'll meet you up there. I really love Cry No More and Nothing to Lose, blah, blah, blah. And all of a sudden, we all hear gunshots. Now, this story is me in a nutshell. So we all go up there. It's a wild scene. Cops hadn't gotten there yet, obviously. I mean, it just happened 30 seconds ago. Bruce Kulick's in the middle of Sunset, bleeding all over the place. And, the ambulance and cops were probably at least 5 minutes away, even though they're right down the street. And so we're gathering around Bruce. Are you okay? What do you need? And everyone looks up at me. His knee was bleeding pretty bad. And I had on probably $1,000 Versace shirt. I mean, it's a lot of money. Very, think Steve Stevens style Versace shirt. By the way, thinking of Steve Stevens, here's my ray gun he gave me. Turn the light off here, maybe it gets, there we go. Because my dog Lois, she chewed on this one and the electronics went out. So Bruce was bleeding pretty bad. And everyone looks at me and goes, Earl, take off your shirt, use it as a tourniquet. And, like I said, it's a very expensive shirt. And I look down at Bruce, I'm like, hey, how bad is it? So I take it off. I was getting a lot of pressure from my friends. And so we go to the hospital, and Bruce, he survived, but it was close. He got nicked in the head, I think, as well. So once I knew Bruce was okay, I went to the nurse and go, "Hey, where do you guys put gunshot victims' clothing?" It's like, "Oh, we put that in the biomedical waste bin in the basement." So I go down in the biomedical basement bin, and I got my shirt. I'll tell you that much right now. Still have the shirt too, but probably the cops came and all that stuff, and so they got the guy. A couple of the Rainbow security had the shooter down in the middle of Sunset, and cops get a lot of shit. But I remember they all looked away for a minute so the Rainbow guys could beat the shit out of this guy. I thought that was cool. It is a wild story, to be honest with you. So that is it, guys. Jordan, Rebel, Lambda, 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 William, Ross, Ambrose. Thank you guys for listening. We're going to do this every Thursday night. And, when the mood, maybe I'll do one for pay-per-views as well. Just trying to get my 4,000 hours up. I think I'm about halfway there now. Um, and I'm at the Comedy Store in about an hour. Probably too late for anyone to come. Watch Jordan's travel vlog, Days with Jordan the Lion. It's really amazing. Like I'm very low budget and kind of lazy with my live streams. Jordan's are like, edited music, unbelievable. So follow me everywhere. This has been what's not inappropriate, Earl, but this has been Earl Skakel. I'm on my way to the Comedy Store. My name is Earl.